college senior is, what do you want to do after graduation? Now, most of the time I say, ooh, just let me get to graduation first. The rest of the time I tell them law school. But law school is very difficult to get into. Even if you have a 4.0 GPA, you still need to do well on your law school application test, or the LSAT. That's when people usually stop me and go, I don't know much about that, and then they stop talking to me. But today I want to talk about the LSAT. What is it? What's on it? And how does it affect you getting into a good school? First, what is the LSAT? According to the Law School Admission Council website, which is the organization that runs the LSAT, the test is a half-day long, standardized multiple choice exam that measures students' acquired reading and verbal reasoning skills. That's just a really long way of saying it tests skills that law schools want to see. Here's how it does it. There are 5 sections on the exam, 4 of which are scored and 1 of which is not. Unfortunately, we test takers don't know the difference between them, so we have to try our hardest no matter what the test throws at us. There are 35 minutes for each section, and between sections 3 and 4 is a 15-minute break for us to do whatever. In the end, the test is scored from 120 to 180 points, obviously lowest to highest. Points are pulled from questions that you get right, meaning that if you don't get a question right, you don't lose anything for having guessed, so it's in your best interest to guess. That goes over the basics of the LSAT as a test. Now let's talk about what's actually on it. Like I said, there are 5 sections, but like the SAT, which only has 3 types of sections, reading, math, and writing, the LSAT only has 3 kinds of sections: logical reasoning, reading comprehension, and logic games. Each one plays to a different set of skills. Logical reasoning gives you a short passage and a question based off that passage. Now, the questions can range from what was the main point of this passage to what kind of inference can you make based off of the information given to you. The skill tested here, the ability to reason logically, spot assumptions, and make inferences. This section has the most number of questions out of any other on the LSAT, so it's very important for anyone trying to do well. Second, you have reading comprehension. Here, you're given a long passage along with a series of questions about the passage. Questions can overlap with logical reasoning, such as what was the main point of the passage. Most of the time, however, they're completely unique to reading comprehension, so they can cover things like what does line 34 and 35 mean in the context of the whole passage. It's very obtuse. The skill tested here, the ability to quickly read and digest new information, pulling out only what's most important for answering the questions. This section has the second most number of questions, but it's also considered the easiest because it's basically just reading. Finally, you've got logic games, and that is the hardest section of them all. Test takers are given a scenario for arranging some set of objects in some way, and they're given rules for arranging those objects. But the rules don't tell you the entire picture, so you're left with a lot of empty spaces in your, well, if you sketch it out, then in your sketch. Most of the questions then deal with either giving you a brand new rule and you filling out the arrangement, or asking you what's possible and what's not possible based on the rules they give you. Now, this may not sound that difficult, but it requires a lot of deductions, which in this case means being able to see the implications and connections between rules beyond what's explicitly said in the rules. This is also the skill that's tested. Now, given enough time, probably any test taker could answer all of the questions in all the sections, but we only have 35 minutes per section, so we're always pressed for time. Now you know what the LSAT is and what's on it, but this doesn't tell you why it's so important. Data from the Law School Admission Council website does. Studies show that performance on the LSAT has a moderate to strong positive correlation with grades for the first year of law school. Translation, the better you do on the LSAT, the better your grades are probably going to be in that first year of law school. That's why so much emphasis is put on the LSAT, because it tells law schools what kind of student they're going to get. That's also why the best schools want the best LSAT scores. For example, according to USA Today, in 2013, Harvard Law School had an incoming class median average LSAT score of 173. Now that's deep into the 99th percentile. Other schools with similar rankings, such as Yale, Columbia, NYU, they all had similar LSAT scores, which tells you LSAT scores are incredibly important to all of these schools. Overall, as I just said, the LSAT is an important part of the law school application process. It's a standardized multiple choice test. It tests students on logical reasoning, reading comprehension, and logic games. And schools want high LSAT scorers. So if I'm going to get into Harvard Law School, I need to do incredibly well on the LSAT, which means that I need to go back to studying right now. Thank you so much and have a great day.